The Paria Bryce one-person backpacking tent has been reviewed and recommended by the big boys, Becker and Backcountry Exposure. Now I'm going to give you my full review on what could be the best budget-friendly backpacking tent on the market. I've owned this tent for about a year and been on about a dozen backpacking trips with it, but I held off on giving a review until I got caught in a storm. Well, that all changed with my latest trip to Minister Creek in Allegheny National Forest. It poured overnight and there was water rushing underneath the tent, and I have to say this tent passed with flying colors. So I'm really excited to do this review for you today. If you've never heard of Paria Outdoors, and it is pronounced Paria, it's named after the Paria Canyon in Utah. I had to go to their website to see how to say it. They are a Colorado-based company, and they have a belief that cost shouldn't be a barrier to get into the backcountry. I love that. And all of their products come with a lifetime warranty, which I actually tested out with this tent, which I'll tell you about later. And they sell a wide variety of products from tents to sleep systems to trekking poles. The Bryce one-person tent costs $145. It's a freestanding tent and it has a trail weight of under 3 pounds. It's one of the best cost to weight ratio tents that I looked at. And its big sister, the Bryce two-person tent, was a backpacker top pick, so it's got a good pedigree. So when you buy this tent, you get 3 different stuff sacks. And the first stuff sack is your guy lines and stakes. It comes with 12 aluminum stakes along with 7 Dyneema guy lines with line lockers for easy adjustment. Then it comes with your pole system, and in the pole system you actually get a repair sleeve so you can fix a broken pole in the field. And in the final stuff sack is our tent body, our rainfly, and footprint. And the footprint does come included with this tent, which a lot of tents you have to pay extra for it. All in, this weighs 3 pounds, 13 ounces. If you look at the trail weight, which takes away the footprint and stakes, this tent weighs 2 pounds, 15 ounces. And then it has a minimalist option where you set it up with just the rainfly, the poles, and the footprint. And that is only 2 pounds, 4 ounces. So now I'm going to walk you through the setup of this tent, which is super easy, and I'll show you all of its cool features. So the footprint of this tent is rectangular, so you don't have to worry too much about the orientation. It's not tapered like some other tents. And you just have to worry about where you're going to put the door. So it goes on either of the smaller ends of the rectangle, and we're going to set it up with the door facing the camera. And this is made out of 40 denier nylon, and all of the seams are taped with a dual silicone and PU. PU I had to look up. It's polyurethane, so it's a dual silicone polyurethane factory taped seams, and that goes for the whole tent. It's all weatherproofed using that same system. So now that we have our footprint where we want it, and remember, always look up to see if there's any broken branches or anything above you, we're going to lay out the tent body. And this has no-see mesh, and all we have to do is just make sure that we have the door where we want it to be. So we'll just drape this over, lay it out, and then we're going to stake down all 4 corners. And both the footprint and body have grommets and buckles, so you can connect the poles as well as the rainfly to either of these things or both of them. And I'm going to just put the stakes down and then we'll set up the poles. So next we want to put the poles in the tent, and the system is pretty easy. It's one continuous system that creates these 2 Ys using these round kind of star connectors here. And what you'll notice after you get the poles actually connected, there'll be one large Y and one smaller Y. And the smaller Y is going to go towards the back of the tent. The larger Y is going to go towards the front of the tent. So you can see this Y is much smaller than this Y. So we're going to put that towards the front of the tent and the other one towards the back of the tent. And then we're going to just place our tent poles in the grommet of our body and get that pulled tight. And now that is pulled tight, all we're going to do is snap all of the clips for the bug mesh into place. So now you can see the basic shape of the tent. And this is freestanding, so I could just pick this up. It's staked down right now, but just pick it up and put it somewhere else if I had to adjust my camp. So now let's get the rain fly and set that up. So the rain fly, like the rest of the tent, is pretty easy to set up. You just got to make sure that you have the door on the door side. So once you figure out where the door is going, just drape it over the top. And each corner has a plastic buckle to snap together. And once you have that, you can actually adjust these and pull it a little tighter if you need to. Then you're going to take 3 stakes, and that's going to set up your vestibule. So let's get the first part of the vestibule down. And then the other 2 stakes are for the door. One holds it down permanently, and the other one, you take it, unclasp it to actually open the door. So I guess you could get away with just 2, but I've always used the 3rd one on the door. And then there's 3 stakes around the tent that just pulls it a little bit farther out, gives you a little more ventilation, sheds the rain a little bit easier, and gives it a little better shape. So we'll put those in right now too. There's one of those on each side, and then one on the back. So this is the basic setup. This is how I've set it up all the times I've actually used it. And you can see it's pretty tight on the side, so it sheds the rain pretty easily, and it handles a decent amount of wind. Now, if it was going to be a really, really windy night, or I was expecting a big storm, I would use the guy out points, and there's 3 of them on each side of the tent that you can actually secure this down and be a little bit tighter if you were expecting a storm. So before I show you the interior of the tent, I'm going to show you a couple of the features on the outside of the tent. On the front here we have our vestibule, and it holds a decent amount of gear. It's not huge, but it's adequate for a pack and shoes. And it does have a dual zipper, so you can actually unzip this top and get some ventilation right here, or you can unzip the whole thing. And as you can see, it unzips and zips really easy. No problems with it getting hung up or anything like that. I can bring this up and down, and it's a very quality zipper. So I'm going to just keep this open here and then go around to the back of the tent. On the back of the tent, it features a vent, and this is just a Velcro connection with a rigid Velcro strap that if you prop it up, it'll give you a little bit more vent on the back side of the tent. Another nice feature of this tent is its versatility. You can set it up like this with the rain fly, the mesh body, and the footprint. Or you can go with a minimalist setup, which is just the rain fly, the poles, and the footprint. So now let's take a look at the interior of this tent. I'm 6'1", and this is the Thermarest Neo Air X-Therm Regular. And I'll throw it in here, and then we'll take a look at the interior space. So before I hop in this tent, I wanted to show you how much space there is with just a sleeping pad. And you can see we can move it towards the back, towards the front, or off to one side. And there's still plenty of room for a dog or your gear. I'd almost consider this a 1.5 tent with just the amount of space it has. And I was looking at one of the competitors, the Featherstone Obsidian One Person. And I watched a couple video reviews, and the mesh kind of made it claustrophobic because it was hanging down on top of you. And that was one of the selling points of this particular tent for me, because a lot of those one-person tents kind of feel like a coffin when you get in them, and this just has so much space. So now I'm inside the tent, and you can see I got a lot of room. I've got some headroom here. I'm sitting straight up, and the mesh net isn't even hitting my shoulders at this point. And it just feels spacious. If I lay back, you can see I have plenty of room, both to lay down, turn over, and also sit back up. And it's just a really well-designed tent. It's got a couple of really nice features on the interior. It's got 1, 2, 3 connection points with actual plastic hooks on them. They're not just connection points. So that's nice for your headlamp, or I like to put a Lucy light up here. Then at your head, you've got 2 pockets on both sides, and that's nice to put your headlamp and your cell phone at night. Then the feature that I think kept me dry in that heavy downpour at Minister Creek was the bathtub style flooring. And if you look, there's actually no seams on this floor, which I think is what kept me dry. I could feel water flowing on both sides of my sleeping pad underneath the tent, and I was 100% dry. This tent has so many positives, from its cost to its weight to its interior space, its ease of setup and versatility, but there are just 2 negatives that I have for it. And the first one I kind of alluded to was the front vestibule. It's a little bit awkward to enter there. The vestibule has an adequate amount of space for your gear, but I'm just not used to getting in and out of the front of the tent. Every tent that I've owned up until this point had a side entry, and it just seems a little bit more convenient. The other negative is the tent stakes. They're kind of chintzy. The first time I used this tent, I was on a little bit harder ground and I needed to use some rocks to pound in these stakes, and I actually bent 3 of them. But the good part about it is it got me to be able to test the Paria warranty. And I contacted them, sent them some pictures of the stakes, and no questions asked, sent me a whole nother set of stakes, which is really good for the company. They stand behind their products and they really mean it when they say lifetime warranty. So is the Paria Bryce 1-person tent the best budget-friendly backpacking tent on the market? I think it is. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Is there another better option available? And if you like this video, be sure to click that like button. And if you want to see other gear reviews, how-tos, and outdoor adventures, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. That's it for now. I'll see you guys outside.